We decided to adopt internationally. She had so many talents, but even even at preschool, she came home from preschool and asked us to get her blue eyes and blonde hair. And so, I mean, that kind of trauma, and I suspect bullying, started even at that young age. And then it just never stopped. And we didn't realize how bad it was. We've been searching for years to try to find a way to help our daughter deal with what we knew were things that were driving her. She just couldn't stop and deal with anything. She ran from everything. She would fight and then she would run. And it didn't occur to us until a few years ago when a local counselor was working with her and diagnosed her with PTSD. We had gone through psychiatrists and counselors and medications and her feeling horrible about herself and just not being able to get life together and get anything to work for her. She was hypersensitive to any of what she considered criticism. She would just go off. She would just come completely unglued, and there was screaming and yelling, and then she would take off. And it became apparent once she was diagnosed with PTSD and we started learning more about it. She'd been doing this her whole life. And that was fight or flight going on at age 2. And we simply didn't know what it was. And we had no means of finding out what it was, let alone getting her any help. When I found out about Help for Trauma, I started talking to her about it. And it probably, a year and a half at least, before she finally hit a point where she called and said, I have to do something. This isn't working and my life isn't working, and I'm about ready to give up. And it was scary. It was very scary going, because she felt this was her last chance to get better. She was really depressed on the way down and anxious, very, very anxious. And at the end of her first 3-hour session, we picked her up and had lunch, and all of a sudden we had this child sitting across the table from us talking nonstop, just relaxed. I don't know how many years, if ever, it had been since I had seen her relaxed. She had always been on edge, always. And that was gone. And by the end of the first day, I mean, every day, every session, at the end of each session, we could see major changes in her. And by the end of the 30 hours, we had a different child. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. You know, one of the things that I was told before we came down was that Dr. Linda says, get rid of the trauma and then see what's left. And that's where we are. You know, the trauma is gone. She's working on the anxiety. She's working through trying to make adult decisions and have things work out for her. Things have never worked that she's tried. So, golly, I just wish that we had known about this when she was in elementary school and could have gotten this for her then. But by the same token, she's in her mid-20s now, and she's young enough that she can pick up and she can build a life, and she can go from here and she can have a good life. None of this would have happened had she not have gone through the ITR process. She could not deal with things. She could not control it. She tried to, and she couldn't stop. And we couldn't help her stop. And it was only after she'd gone through the process, finished her stories, and put an end to all of the trauma that her life was able to move on. We're retired teachers. We don't have a lot of money laying around, but we had enough to do this, and it's the absolute best investment we could have made in her future. It has impacted our whole family. We have just a family weekend planned out of town. And for the first time ever, she's excited. She's coming with us. The whole family is going, and she now feels a part of things. If your child is young and you can figure out some way to do this, and you're giving your whole family a life, now is better than not at all. But we could have had 20 years that were a whole lot more productive and calmer than what they've been. So do it. Just do it.